Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. Today we are going to be making the Sew Together bag by Sew Demented. Today we're going to start the Sew Together bag and I'll show you a picture of what it looks like when it's all done. So there's a picture of it and this is the pattern. The pattern is made by Sew Demented Designers, I believe is their name. Sew Demented, yep. So this is what we're going to be working on, and this is the fabric that I've picked out for it. The fabric is Tuscan by Joel Dewberry, I believe. Yep. The fabric that I've selected is Tuscan by Joel Dewberry, and what I've done is the preliminary cutting out. And I want you to see what I've done, because I think with this pattern, it really will help if we've got at least all of the inside pieces already. This here is for my binding, so I'm going to set that aside for right now because I'm not ready for my binding. I have here in front of me, I'm going to tell you each one of the fabrics that I've got in front of me. This is my outside fabric, so this will be the outside of the Sew Together bag, and I have already fused the fleece to it, all right? The next thing that we have here is the 4 lining fabrics. And again, I've gone ahead and fused my fleece. The next 2 pieces that I have are, these are my outside panel pieces, and these are my inside panel pieces. And I've again gone ahead and put my fusible interfacing or my fusible fleece on the inside of these pieces. Then the last 4 pieces that I have that we're going to start working with right now are the pocket lining pieces. So the very first thing that you're going to do is you are going to take one of your lining fabrics. Just one of your lining fabrics. You can see I've got my fleece on the back. All right. You're going to take this and you are going to take one of your zippers and you're going to lay it face down, okay, lining it right up here. Then you're going to take one of your lining, pocket lining pieces, and you're going to take that and you're going to line that right on top of it. You're going to take your zipper foot and sew 1/4 of an inch or as close to your zipper as you can get from one side to the other. I will caution you, when I sewed mine, my fabric did pull. So just take your time, sew it, and sew it right straight across. Then once you've done that, you're going to press this, and then you're going to fold this open and fold this open, right? Once you've done that, then you can top stitch right across here. I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's all done. So you can see here is my lining, and here is my pocket lining, and you can see I have top stitched it right down through there. Right? Now we're going to move on to our very next step. Your next step, you're going to take your next pocket lining. You're going to take the one that you've already made a sandwich with, and you're going to line these 2 up. One of the things you want to make sure is that these parts are lined up. You're not going to be, okay? So I'm going to take it, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to flip it over again and just make sure that I'm lined up good. And I am. Right? Then I'm going to take my pocket lining piece with my right side together. I'm going to lay it right on top of that. I'm going to line it up. And then I'm going to put some clips in it so that I can keep it together. I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch from here to here with my zipper foot. Then I'll be back and show you what it looks like, okay? Because this looks totally different than what we're used to. All right, I have sewn that down. So now I'm going to take this over to the ironing table and I'm going to press this on both sides, and then I'm going to top stitch it again so that it looks just like this side, okay? then we'll add the next pocket. All right, so now I've got that one in. My next thing is I'm going to do another one. So let's see, I'm going to place this zipper down. Let's turn it over. I want to make sure my pulls are at the same end. So I'll take this zipper and I'm going to place that face down. Then I'm going to take one of my pieces of my pocket lining and I'm going to put that face down. And I'm going to match up my edges. I'm going to pin these together. And I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and I'm going to again sew my 1/4 inch seam all the way down, sandwiching that zipper right there in the middle. Then once I've sandwiched the zipper in the middle, I'm going to do just what I did here. I'm going to press the two and I'm going to fold them over and then I'll top stitch it. Alright, so you can see I've got this put on. We've got our first zipper, we've got our second zipper, and now it's time to put in our pocket, our lining piece for the next one. So I've got this facing up. I'm now going to take my lining piece and I'm going to lay it on top of it, matching the very top of my zipper. I'm going to put a couple wonder clips in it just to hold it, because the next thing we do is we flip it over. Now that I've got it flipped over, I'm going to take my lining piece, I'm going to put right side down. Now I'm going to line all of it up, pinning all 3 layers together. So I've got my pocket piece, I've got my zipper, and then I've got my lining. So I'm going to place all 3 of those together and I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine with my zipper foot and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch. I'll press it, fold it over, and then top stitch it. Then I'll be back. I've got my 2 zippers in. I've got my lining pockets in. So now I'm going to do my next one. And my next one is simply I'm going to take my zipper, lay it face down. I'm going to take my pocket fabric, lay that face down, and I'm going to stitch from here to here using my zipper foot. Then I'm going to flip it over and press it, and then top stitch it again, and then I'll be back to show you where it's at. Okay, you can see I've put my next zipper in and I've top stitched it down. So now we're going to do our very last one. I got a thread here. Let's clip that. Okay, so now I'm going to put in our very last pocket zipper. So to do that, I'm going to lay my zipper down, going to carefully line up the edges. Now that my edges are lined up, I'm going to take my lining piece, my pocket lining, I'm going to lay that over the top of it. I'm going to again match up my edges, and I'm going to this time actually stick a couple pins in. I'll stick 1 pin in, and then I'll use a wonder clip. I just want that area to get held a little tighter. So there goes my wonder clip. Now I'm going to take this and put a wonder clip up here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I've done every time. I'm going to sew with my 1/4 inch foot all the way down. Then I'm going to take it over to the pressing table. I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to top stitch it. All right, I have all of my zippers in, and I have all of my pocket lining in. You can see that I still have all of my zips off the end, and I'm still okay. It's pretty soon though, we are going to be moving these into the center and trimming it all up. But for right now, they're out there, they're fine. I purposely did zippers longer than what they requested in the pattern so that I could just push them off the end and not have to worry about them. So now we need to move on to the next step of our pattern. Now on this stage, what we're going to need is some type of a marking instrument. And I am actually going to use my Clover chalk liner. You can see mine's a little dirty because I do use it. But the pattern will give you the exact instructions on where to measure from and to. So I'm going to get mine measured, and then we will move on to the next step. So I'll be back as soon as I get all mine measured. Your measurements are in your pattern, so make sure you reference your pattern for exactly what you're supposed to do. I'm pretty certain that if you look carefully, you can see exactly where I've marked. I have one line here, another line here, and another line right here. So based on that, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pick up my pieces one by one, and I'm going to bring these together. And see how I'm folding this? I'm going to change it just a little bit. See how I'm folding this, lining up my two centers, and actually making the zipper go right in the center. All right, I'm going to take it back now this way. And what I'm going to do is I am going to pin right here through this line. Okay. And I'm going to do, so this one, I'm going to take this over the sewing machine now, and I'm just going to stitch right through this line all the way across. Then I'm going to do it for this section and then this section. Then I will be back. All right, so we now have our 3 pockets, and I'm going to open them for you so that you can see in. See, here's our pockets, and we do have a, I got threads in there, of course. We do have a nice little flat bottom. And here's the next one. And then our last one. So here's all of our nice pockets. I'll leave this one open so you can see this one too. So there's all of our nice little pockets. So I'm pretty excited about this. All right, the next thing that we are going to need to do is to start trimming this up. Now, when we go to trim this up, we have got to make sure that our zippers are all in the center, because if they are not in the center, we are going to absolutely lose pieces of them. And then we'll have to take the zipper out and put another one in. So there we go. Here's all of our pieces. I'm going to try to get this as flat as I can get it. And I'm just going to probably take a pair of scissors and just trim this up here on the edges where I've got some hangover. And I think the easiest way to do it is probably going to take it back like this and just get it lined up on both sides and make sure I'm good and even, which I do look really good on this side. Looks like I only really need to do some trimming over here on this side where I've got some excess hanging out over there. And I've got a little bit up here too. So the next step is I'm going to get this trimmed up, and then I'm going to go to my directions, and I think our next step is going to be getting our side panels attached. Now, I'm going to pull my side panels here. You can see I've got my 2 side panels. What I need to do first, and I didn't do this in the beginning, I waited until now to do it. I'm going to take my 2 outside pieces. I'm going to put these right sides together. Here's my other one. And I'm going to sew all the way around both of these, and then I'll turn them right side out, and I'll actually clip my corners too. Once I've done that, I will come on back and show you the next step. I hope you can see that I have top stitched around, and there's both of my pieces. Now this is my outer fabric. The next thing that we have to do is find the center of these pieces, of both of them, and I'm going to do that simply by folding it in half and putting a pin in. Okay. Once I've got my pin in, I'm going to take my ruler again, and I'm just going to line this right up using my edge to make sure that I'm straight. and using my ruler to make sure that I'm straight. I think I'm pretty straight there. And I'm going to make a mark right down the center. I think I have to come over a little bit more. Yep. So now I'm going to make a mark right down the center with my chalk marker. And there's my center mark. Now what I need to do is I need to grab my pattern piece, and on my pattern piece the other two lines that I need to indicate are on there. So I'm going to pick up my pattern piece, and here is my line right here, and I'm going to line that up again. Now I can use this line to make sure I'm square. I'm going to make another mark. And then I'm going to take this and flip it over the other way. Can you see my chalk marks? Just faint little white chalk marks. I'm going to take this pin, I'm going to stick it right here. And then I'm going to line this one up, and I'm going to do the same thing. Make sure I'm straight. Come over just a little bit more, and I'm going to make a line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my pressing table, and I actually am going to use these marks to take this and fold it and press it, okay? I probably should have put the marks on the other side. So on this next one, I'm going to put them on this side. And I'm actually just going to take these two, going to line them up together. And I'm just going to take my ruler and line them both right up. And then I can make my marks. And this will tell me where I need to press on this one. So I would suggest that you do press them on the outside, and if you use one of these chalk markers, it'll come right off, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so now I'll take these over to my ironing table, and I'm just going to take it like this, and I'm going to press it. Then I'm going to fold it and press it again. All right, I'll be back once that's done. All right, now that you can see I've trimmed my bag, move it up a little bit, got my bag all trimmed, all right, and I'm ready for my two side panels. So I'm going to start with the center because that one's the easiest. You can see, I think, my creases. See, I've got little creases in there. And I'm going to wrap my first one right around my center pocket. So I'm using the center creased around the center pocket. And it should extend beyond the zipper. So don't be afraid if yours does, because it absolutely should. That's fine. All right. And I'm going to just put a pin in it to hold it for just a second. Then I'm going to wrap this around, and I'm kind of pulling it a little bit because I want to make it tight, because I don't want to lose any of my, I want to wrap this right around there so that it's good and tight, and I don't mess up my alignment. And you can see I got to manipulate it just a little bit, and that's okay. But I want to get it to line up better down here. See, I'm not quite where I want to be once I fold it. I'm going to move it a little bit more, and then I'm going to wrap it around again. All right, now I'm getting better. I'm going to pinch this with my fingers, and I'm going to put a pin in it. All right, holding it together. I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to sew all the way up, and then I'm going to back stitch a little bit. I'll come back and show you what it looks like in just a second. All right, so now I think you can see. I started here, I backstitched, I went up and I went just beyond the top of the zipper, and then I backstitched again. I'm going to do that exact same thing to the next 2 pockets, then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So I'll be back when we've got this all attached. Alrighty, our bag is absolutely coming together. And I have to tell you, I'm thrilled with the way it looks. Couple of things I'm going to tell you. That last part, sewing these ends on, let me switch it around. Sewing these on is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. Now I'm going to show you what I want you to do when you put it underneath your presser foot. I'll turn it this way. So if your presser foot is here and you're here, what you're going to want to do is put it there. But this fabric you're going to want to take and fold over like this, because otherwise what happens is this gets in the way and it makes it very difficult to sew this. So when you do a seam, fold this over. So when you do the middle seam, which is why they have you do that first, you're going to do the middle seam first, then it's not so much in the way. So then when you do your last seam, you can take it and turn it this way and you'll have the room. I hope you understand that. Only because it truly did make a difference for me once I folded it, because I tried to do one not folding it and it didn't work. The other thing you want to do is you want to open up your flaps and make certain that you catch your lining fabric in there so that you don't have any raw fabric on the inside there. That's the other thing you need to do. So my next step is I need to sew my flaps down, and then we've got a few more things to do. So I'm gonna double check my directions on what I need to do first, and then I'll be back and we'll keep going. Our next step is to find the center of our outside fabric. So that's what I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna fold it in half, and I'm gonna put a pin in. I gotta turn it to do it, make it easier on myself here. And what I'm doing is just slipping a pin through the outside of it, just like this. I'm gonna do that on this side, making certain that I stay pretty lined up. There we go. There's the next one. All right, the next thing is we're going to take the center of our bag and we're going to match it right up with that pin. I'm going to match it up, and I'm going to take in between these pockets. See, we've got these 2 pockets. We're going to take in between those 2 pockets, and I'm going to put a clip on each side of it. So 1 clip on this side and 1 clip on this side. All right, I'm going to ignore this side for just a few minutes. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to run it all the way down to the end. See how I'm holding it pretty taut. I'm going to put a clip in there, and then I'm going to put another clip in right about here. I'm going to do the same on this side. Run it down. Put a clip, and we'll put another clip about right there. There's a reason why I'm putting clips right there. Now that we've got this done, what we need to do is actually fold this flat out, because this is now going to attach. So I'm going to start right here at this point. I'm going to pick up the inside of my panel, which is right there, and what I'm doing inside of here is just folding things kind of away. I don't want to run over something that I shouldn't run over on the inside. I'm going to turn that clip this way, and I'm going to clip it. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here, just kind of manipulating the fabric around underneath so that it's not into my clip. And I may have to pick this one up. going to pick it up, clip it. Then I'm going to fold this fabric away, take this down, and I'm going to do the same thing. One of the things I want you to note here is it's not going to go all the way to the end, and it shouldn't. Okay? Take it to there. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. I'm going to line this up nice and flat. Put my clip in. Make sure I've got my clip flat. Almost. There we go. And now I'm going to do my very last one down here. All right. I'm going to sew just under 1/4 inch. I'm going to baste all of these layers together. When I get to this, I'm probably going to try to just smush it as flat as I can. Same thing here. Just kind of mush those down. That is a technical term, don't you know? And just keep sewing. What this is going to do is this is going to compress all of this so that when we put our binding on, it will actually help us. So I'm going to do this side, then I'm going to do this side, and then I'll be back, okay? So we'll see you when we've got both the outside of our bag. I love the outside of my bag. Oh, I'm in love with it. The outside of my bag and the lining attached. So now you can see I've got my pockets and I've got my outside sewn to my lining. So our next step is going to be another zipper and the binding. This is my binding. Isn't that just going to be the coolest? I am so excited about this. So I'm going to now figure out how I have to cut my binding and start getting it all put together. Yay! So I'm going to now take my binding strips and I'm going to, all right, I've got my binding strips because now it's time to put the binding on. And I've cut them per the directions, then folded them in half. So I've got a folded edge here and a raw edge here. I'm going to find my center just simply by folding it in half, and I'll stick a pin in. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to lay it down here and I'm going to find the center of my bag, which is right about here. And I'm going to stick a wonder clip on it. Then I'm going to take it and I'm just going to spread it out all the way down to the end, clipping it in place. And then I'm going to sew it in. I'm going to do this on both sides. So I'm taking it down. And I'm going to just sew. Looks like I don't have quite the middle, do I? Let's do that again. I know I've got the middle here. Let's get the middle here. I'm going to try folding it right in half. Let's see what we can do here. All right, looks like the middle is right about here. It's so thick that it really is tough to tell where the middle is. So I'm going to line that back up again. All right, now let's clip it again. So here we go. Let's take it down. Okay, that looks better. So I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and I am going to stitch right along there. I'll do my 1/4 inch seam. Then what I'll be doing afterwards is folding it around and then top stitching it down. And I'll probably use a decorative stitch just so that if for some reason I miss I missed my other side, the needle will catch it. And I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. But I just thought a decorative stitch would be pretty on this, especially since I'm using gray thread, and I just think it'd be pretty. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to stick a pin in this one. I'll get that done. I'll get back, and then we're going to do our next bindings. I was really going to stitch the binding down on the machine, but what I found is I've got such little space between here and these edges that it actually is going to be easier to do it on the machine or by hand. So I'm going to sew those by hand. I've pinned them down with Wonder Clips only because I need those to be nice and flat. Our next step is we need to attach our exterior zippers. Now for the inside, I really liked this gray color. I just thought it looked really nice with the inside of the bag. But for the outside, I want to use this cream. And here, look at what it looks like. See now, doesn't that look nice on the outside of the bag? So that's what I'm using for the outside. Plus my zipper, this one is one of my By Annie zippers, so you can see it's got this wider tab, which I thought would be really nice on the bag. So what I needed to do was find the center of both of the pieces, and then I want to line up so that my zipper opens the same way as my insides do. So I've got my zipper pulled down here. I'm going to line this up. You see me lining it right up there. And then I'm going to put some Wonder Clips in it. So there's one. Then another one. I'll probably, and I want to make sure that I folded this over because remember I'm going to hand stitch that down. So I'm going to stick a clip right there at the end. And I'll stick another one down here at the end so that I make sure that this side is in there good and tight. So I'm going to go over to the machine and I'm going to baste that down. Then once I've I can remove those two pins. Once I've basted it down, then I'm going to take my binding. This is my binding. Got 2 raw edges and 1 folded edge. And I'm going to lay that right down on this and I'm going to sew that down. Then I'm going to come back because I'm going to show you how I'm going to do the other side because we have one more side to do. Again, I've sewn it and I've got my Wonder Clips on just holding it together for me. So now I need to bring this part of the zipper over to that side. So the first thing I'm going to do is find my center of my binding because I hadn't done that yet and put a pin in that so that I know where that is. Then I'm going to unzip my zipper. Now on my zipper for the first time I did have to unzip it in order to do all of this because the zipper was getting in the way. So one of the things I'm going to do, because this is a zipper that you cut off, it's like a zipper on a roll, I buy yards of it at once. I'm going to take and I'm just going to put a straight pin down here at the end so that my zipper does not come off. I just don't want it coming off. So now I'm going to take this side. I guess it's better. Which way is the best? I'll do it this way. And I'm going to match up my 2 centers. So there's my center on there. I'm going to stick a pin in it this way. Well, I guess I'm going to stick a pin in it right next to the other one. All right, now I'm going to pinch it and pick it up and pin it again because I want this good and tight because that zipper is kind of pulling it on me on the back side. Did you see the zipper pull go to the end? That's why I pinned it. So now I'm going to take my clips again and I'm just going to clip this down. I'm going to then take it over to the sewing machine and I'm going to baste it in, and then once I've got it basted in, then I will take it and sew my binding, which is right here, on exactly how I showed you how I was doing the other one. So it's going to be done exactly the same way. Alright, so there's my clips, there's all my stuff. Maybe if I pin this to this, it'll stay here. Get my big clip, clip it in. There, now it'll be easier to work with. So I'm going to now take this over to the sewing machine. I'm going to baste this. Then I'm going to attach my bindings. I've already found the center I'll line it up with the center of this, stitch it, then fold it over and clip it like this. Be right back. Alright, it's time to make our ends for our zipper. Okay, we've got these zippers, they're open at the end, and we've got to do something to attach them down. Now, if you're going to use the same zipper as I did, so these are the extra wide zippers, and I really like these. If you're going to buy a kit from me, it's going to have this zipper in it, so you need to pay attention to this. When you go to put this together at the end, you're going to have to cut your tabs larger than what it is in the instructions. My tabs are cut at 2.5 inches wide. So when you go to cut your tabs, you need to cut the strips for them. You're going to need to cut yours 2.5 inches by the directions. So now I'm going to take these two Wonder Clips off, and I'm just going to slide my tab holder in here. Now, once I get it in there, I'm going to make sure that my zipper is good and straight. All right. And I'm also going to make sure that it's in there correctly. Then I'm going to take some straight pins, and there's an extra fabric here, and that's just fine. I'm going to take a pin, and I'm just going to pin this right in there. All right, I'm going to push it down just a little bit farther. I guess I had it not quite far enough. So I've got the zipper to about here, so maybe 3/4 of an inch in. And I'm going to pin one side first, keeping it straight. Right? Then I'm going to pin the second side. Now before I pin the second side, I'm going to bring my zipper all the way up close. All right? Because I want to make certain that my zipper is going to line up well. And we do have a little bit extra on both sides, but that's just fine. I'm going to pin that in. And then I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to top stitch that all down so that that stays down. Now, how I made the tabs was I took my fabric, all right, and I folded it in about 1/2 inch, a little bit more than 1/4 inch on each end, just like this. All right. Once I had these two folded in, fold it in a little bit tighter, I took them and I placed right sides together, and I just took it over to the sewing machine and I stitched 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, turned it right side out, and then you saw how I added it here. So here's one of them. I'm going to take and I'm going to do another one here, and this one I'm actually going to attach right down here to the bottom of my bag, the center of my bag. So I will be back once I've got both of my tabs on. All right, here is my bag in all of its glory. Look at this. Isn't this just the cutest? I'm so excited about this bag. I really am. I can't believe it. Anyhow, I'm also supposed to sew these down at each end. I've got threads all over the place, of course. These belong sewn in right down here at the base. Let me turn this so that you can see it a little bit better. All right, here's the side of the bag. And what we're supposed to do at the very end is take this and sew that right down here at the edge. I'll stick a pin in it. And what that's going to do then is create the two handles at the end. Let's see if I can get this pin in. I think I'm hitting my Wonder Clip. There. All right, so when it's closed up, see, it creates this really cute little handle at the end. So I am going to take this inside, and I am actually going to hand sew the binding down, and then I'm going to see if I can get this underneath the machine or if I need to do it by hand. And if I need to do it by hand, that's fine. That's no big deal. So here is my bag. Wait till you see the inside. Oh, it is so cute. Look. Isn't this adorable? I'm so excited. I cannot wait for you guys to see this. Isn't that just the cutest? Cutest little bag. So here that is. I'm going to take this pin out of the end. And quite honestly, if it's really difficult to sew those in, I may end up leaving it open because I don't know that it's a big deal. It's still pretty secure. There's a little opening at the end, but it's not bad. So, you know, I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. But that is definitely going to be tight. See, there's not a lot of space there. So I'm really not certain how I'm going to go about getting that in. But I'll figure it out and then let you guys know what I end up doing. So now I'm going to take my little bag and I'm going to take it inside the house and I'm going to get my binding sewn on. Thank you so much for joining me today while I made this sew together bag. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my Facebook group. And don't forget, I am on Instagram. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon.